Happy Wednesday and welcome back. I am Miss Brii with Wonderland Performing Arts and this is Musical Theater Voice Class. So today we are going to be continuing on with our advanced performance principles that we introduced last week, I believe. So we're going to go over all of those and continue on learning a couple more today. I think we're going to have about 9 total. So today we are learning number 5 and number 6. We're getting pretty close. So yeah, let's just review what we did last week and then we'll get started with what's for today. So last week we talked about stressing. Number 1 was stressing the first beat you sing, making sure that your entrances are nice and strong and that you make that entrance really clear so everybody hears you coming, including the conductor and the band and the audience especially. So stress the first beat that you sing on and remember your dynamics. Stick to your dynamics. Now, we talked about dynamics. Do you remember what they are? They are how loud or soft you get in your music. We talked about piano, pianissimo, forte, mezzo piano, fortissimo, and all of those things. Getting really, really soft, pianissimo, getting really, really loud, fortissimo, just being soft, piano, just being loud, forte, and all of that stuff. And then we also talked about diction. So when we talk about diction, we are talking about how clearly we are speaking, making sure that we are saying our words clearly and precisely, that all of our consonants are heard very clearly, that we are saying the words very clearly, singing on the vowel so that our consonants can be spoken through or sung through, depending on the consonant. And making sure that we are projecting loud enough to be heard in the very back row. The people in the nosebleeds shouldn't be, not hearing you. They should be able to hear everything that's going on that stage. Otherwise, what did they buy tickets for? If you're gonna book a big theater, you gotta be able to sing to the back row. So making sure that the back row can hear us loud and clear and that they can follow along with the story because we are projecting all the way to the back. Next, we talked about singing through your eyes. So we talked about how this is both useful as an actor because it helps you kind of portray a certain meaning when you speak through your eyes, and how it's also helpful as a singer because when you think of putting your voice upwards or singing through our unicorn horn, then we are thinking of putting our voice in the best range for it to resonate because our head is our resonator. All of that sound just bounces around in your skull and then comes right out of your mouth because your mouth amplifies it and throws it out into the world. Yeah, so making sure when we sing through our eyes that we're thinking about both our voice being upward and our feelings coming out of our faces. A lot of communication is body language. So we have to go beyond just saying the words and, just singing the words. We have to mean them and we really have to convey that we mean them. So singing through your eyes is a really good method of just, practice in a mirror and really sell a story by trying to tell that story through your eyes as much as possible and trying to record yourself and look back at it and see if it's convincing. And play out to the audience. That was the 4th one that we learned last week. Playing out to the audience. Remember where you are, but greet the audience like a kind stranger. So instead of, let's say you're just an extra on the stage and you're just walking around, bebopping, tending to whatever. It's a ensemble scene and I'm supposed to be shopping. I love being able to act out to the audience and show them what I'm doing by doing something, kind of specific, whether it's checking out a price tag or, reading something more closely or seeing how something looks on you if you're shopping or doing things like that. That kind of give the audience something to show that you're busy doing something. You're in that scene. You're part of that energy. It really sells that whole scene if everybody is high energy and pushing it and, going for it. And so playing out to the audience and also making it big enough that they can see. That's part of while we're singing through our eyes, we also want to make sure they can see what we're doing with our hands and our feet, especially if the gesture is part of the storyline. Making sure they see every move that we make. We have to make it a little bit bigger. We have to make big decisions. And that's kind of the magic of musicals, is that we're making big decisions and big moves and making it dramatic and the stage kind of makes you do that, because in movies you can zoom in and see something real special, but on the stage you've got to bring all of the attention to it that you can, and sometimes that means putting your arms and legs out as far as you possibly can. It just depends on the show. So it's up to you to decide what big moves are right and wrong when you decide to do them, but the director always helps steer you in the right direction. So that was a review of last week. Let's talk about our principles for today. So we only have 2 for today, so we don't go through our list too quickly. So number 5, keeping the scene focused. So it's really easy to get overwhelmed when you're on stage with a bunch of people doing a bunch of things. If you know it's a big dance number coming up and you have to get to your spot really quick, you want to make sure that while you're rushing to get to your spot, you're still rushing to get to your spot in character, right? Yeah, that's not you walking up to that spot to do that dance. That's your character, to participate with all the other characters on stage. So remembering not to get lost in that and keeping to your character, keeping focused on the scene. The attention needs to stay on the storyline. So once you kind of get distracted and leave that storyline, you can lead the audience to do the same thing. So we want to make sure that we keep them in the story so that they know what's going on, and so, you know, they don't get lost or bored or, heaven forbid, leave. So we want to make sure that we are staying in the scene, focused, and really in character and feeling our character. When it comes to singing and dancing too, it's really easy to just focus too much on what you're doing. You're singing and you're dancing at the same time, and that can be really overwhelming. So thinking about what your feet are doing and what your hands are doing, and then what your hips are doing, and then what your head is doing, and then also singing, and then also remembering the words. It's hard, but it's so important that you still remember all of those character things that we talked about before, and that you still stay in that character in that setting. Or let's say you're in the position where you're spectating and you're just kind of watching all the singing and dancing going on. Reacting is your best friend. Reacting to what's going on. The key to all of this, the key to succeeding in a scene, whether you're the lead or in the ensemble, is really just up to your imagination. If you can fully immerse yourself in your imagination to really, you know, get yourself there, put yourself in the scene, make yourself that person, develop the feelings of that person and how you feel towards the other people on stage, and remembering all of these things when you step foot out there, and really letting your imagination take hold of the character and running with that, keeping your imagination just in your full view and letting it take you wherever you think that character needs to go. That's another, key to success when it comes to getting up on that stage, really letting your imagination take hold and becoming the character in that scene. So the next principle that we're going to talk about today is kind of related, and this is why I wanted to do these 2 together. So the next one is being alive in the character. Be alive in the character. So when you are on stage, when you're in a scene, you have a purpose. A director wouldn't put a character on stage for no reason. I mean, maybe just to fill space, and if so, they'll tell you to just stand there. But for the most part, if you're spectating what's going on, or if you're just kind of walking by on stage, you have a purpose. You're supposed to be there for something, whether it's to buy that thing, or to pass by, or to bump into someone, or, to just be the movement in the background. You have that purpose. So it's important that we stick to remembering our purpose and what we're doing on the stage, and really letting, again, your imagination put you in that place. And whether you're in the spotlight or you're in the background, what you're doing, again, is telling the story. This is all the same stuff that we really think about with the last one. It's important not to lose sight of your purpose. And I think keeping the scene focused and not losing sight of your purpose are kind of the same thing, wouldn't you? So when you're bringing life to your character, when you're alive in your character, it's just doing regular things that you think your character would do that, people might not really think of, that just people do, like brushing their teeth, or, a certain way they wear things, a certain way they walk, a certain way they talk, different things like that you kind of develop about a character. These are all things that you really need to keep in focus and, can work on through a myriad of different ways. So let's talk about one of the ways that we can really build on a character. My favorite way to practice character building is to get a journal. So I keep journals sometimes of, so like, let's say you write, I've written entries about how I felt about singing a song, and then I also wrote an entry from the character's perspective. I have a book of 500 writing prompts, and so I picked a page and I wrote it as a certain character. How would this character answer these questions? So I left about 10 journaling prompts down in the description below for you to use in your free time, and we're gonna look at one right now. So let's think about a character. Let's think about Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. I think we've all seen The Wizard of Oz. So let's think about Dorothy, Auntie Em, and all of our friends, the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, Toto the sweet dog. Let's think about Dorothy for a minute, and let's look at one of these questions. If you had 3 wishes, what would you wish for? Now let's think about Dorothy for a second. So we know that she's back home in Kansas after the movie's over, or let's say this takes place before Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So if I recall correctly, Somewhere Over the Rainbow is before she goes to Oz. So she's just kind of living her sad little, Kansas life, small town life, farm life, all of that stuff. So I think if Dorothy had 3 wishes, she would wish for something new, a new adventure to go on. And I think that's kind of what she got in the end. But this is before all of that, right? So I think she would love a new dress, because she's been wearing that tattered old apron dress for a really long time. You can tell it's worn and all of that stuff. So a brand new dress is one. Maybe to have more time with her friends. She doesn't seem to have a whole lot of friends other than the farmhands. So I think she'd like to spend more time with them and goof around and be able to be a kid. So that's 2. And then number 3, I think I'm gonna stick with something new. A new adventure, something new to try, even if it was just on the farm. I don't think she would have minded. Granted, it did take her much farther than that. But that's kind of the way that you wanna approach asking questions about your character and really getting into character. It's just thinking about wild things that might be relevant. So, yeah, that's just one example. That was Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, but you can do anybody. You can do the character from your song, you can do a character from a movie. If you're feeling creative and just want to, flex that brain of yours, then do it about anybody. A character, a person you know, about whatever. What do you think they would answer to any of these prompts or questions? I left 10 down below in the description, but if you look just about anywhere for journaling prompts or writing prompts, you'll find a bunch of really fun stuff. And you can even look at it for different age groups. So if some of the questions are just a little too hard for you to answer because you're just a little too young, that's okay. If you type in what grade you're in, they'll come up with perfect ones just for your age group. So you can absolutely use the ones down below if you want. I tried to make sure those were all as age appropriate as possible for any age, but feel free to look up whatever. It's your journey, it's your adventure, and it's up to you to take the necessary steps to get where you need to go. So I think that is all I have for you today. Next week I'm gonna have Mr. Colin come and help me with some really fun games that we're gonna play. Games that you can play at home with friends on Zoom, or that you can play at home with your parents or brothers and sisters or whoever's at home with you. We're gonna show you a couple fun ways to take your songs and do new things and just keep yourself entertained. We don't have too much longer in this quarantine, hopefully, so we'll be out of here pretty soon. All right, you guys, well, that's all I have for you today. This is Miss Brii signing off from Wonderland Performing Arts. I will see you next Wednesday. Keep on singing and stay safe. Bye, you guys.